after playing with it for a couple of hours and just briefly having a look at it, it's sort of left me sitting on the fence because they made some very good choices in the packages that they've put with the distro as default, but then some other rather strange choices. F-spot and going back the way towards mono. I don't know if you have any views on that, Roy, but I certainly was very disappointed to find F-spot in there instead of Shotwell and G-Note replaced by Tomboy. I don't know if you have any views.
I was actually very happy to see a person who I don't think knows anything about mono. He was talking about how he loved Fedora because he was using G-Note instead of Tomboy. And I don't think it was because of mono, but because of maybe performance or because of I don't think this person previously used anything of this type, any note-taking application on desktop. But anyway, it reminded me of the fact that Fedora is making use of what was created from a former Novell employee who, shortly after being, as far as I know, he was laid off from the company, and he moved from SUSE to Fedora within weeks perhaps, and he started to develop a choice which is compatible with Tomboy, which is actually based on the code in Tomboy, and allow people to move away from the mono dependency, which of course Red Hat was very happy to pick on, because Red Hat, still unlike Ubuntu, it's more afraid of patent action and things like that, because they are being approached and have been approached by Microsoft in recent years, and Microsoft is trying to get them to sign a patent deal which they shouldn't sign because they don't even know what the patents are. Also, Canonical was approached actually by Microsoft too for some reason. They rejected a proposal to sign a patent deal. And the fact that Fusion goes in the way, it actually goes out of its way to restore, to take a base of Fedora and throwing away G-Note and going back to Tomboy, I'm not sure about that. Maybe the developer likes or is apathetic towards mono. I'm not sure. I cannot say anything about it.
It sort of swayed me. Like I say, it did put me in a difficult position to where I stood on this because, there's Chromium there as well, which obviously, as I say, I use Chromium. It's got your audio-video codecs, VLC. It's GNOME Do, but obviously I don't think we need to say anything on that. And it's got Blender, and I really liked it, and I really wanted to like it. It's also got, some people may say this is, I've been challenged over my usage of this before, but it had Dropbox, which I find very, very useful, and it was nice to see for me. I know we all have different expectations of what comes with a distro, but it was nice to see these things, and I really wanted to like it. Like I say, I was disappointed that it seemed to be going back to.
Well, you can always remove those things.
Yeah.
I should point out, today I installed Fedora 14, and the person who I installed it for, Fedora 14 doesn't have much software you'd expect. It doesn't have KOffice. This is Fedora 14 KDE spin. And although it's almost 700 megabytes as you burn the CD, so it's really packed with all the packages you can reasonably have. It doesn't have even the basic things like the GIMP, which was removed from Ubuntu, and lots of people gave Canonical a hard time, including myself, suggesting that they were trying to promote a mono-based application or a mono-based image viewer at the expense of the GIMP. But it takes a lot of time, especially if you're on a wireless connection that's not very fast. It can take you a few hours to get hundreds upon hundreds of megabytes of packages, of extra packages, and in addition to all I had to get like 115 updates for all the packages I had to begin with, so that also takes like another hour. After an installation of about 20 minutes, you still have to wait 1 hour or so, depending on the connection speed, just to get the updates in place. And if you can have a distro that packs up all these stuff, removing things is very easy. It's always very easy to remove things. I'm not sure if it comes as a DVD, this one, but
I mean you're completely correct. Yes, you can always remove things, and you always add things when you've first installed your distro, and you have a look and see what's defaultly packaged. I don't know if this is just me personally, but I like to think whenever I choose a distro, and I do distro hop, but what I tend to do is settle on one and stay with it for quite a long time. Currently I'm with Sabian. And what I like to think when I install a distro and look at the default packages that are there is that the developers of the distro have the same sort of viewpoint as me, and the same sort of likes and same package ideas as myself. And that's why I don't so much like the removal of packages when I first install it. And that's what I like I say, I like to try and pick a distro where I believe that the direction of the distro is of a similar opinion to my own. So maybe that's just a personal thing, but it's one of the reasons why I was disappointed slightly with Fusion. And I'm sure it's a great distro, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that really, really will like this. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Me personally, it sort of ruined it a little bit, which is a shame. But there'll be a full review of that on my website once I've spent a little bit more time with it, and I'll be putting up some screenshots and stuff. So that'll be in the next few days.
Yeah, one other machine I set up few months ago, I set up a PC Linux OS machine. Now, maybe you can help me out here. I'm not sure if they have much of a repository for software, because as far as I could tell, I was trying to get to install Chromium for speed, because it's an old computer I installed it on, and I couldn't quite get any packages from the package manager. I use Synaptic, I think, and I couldn't find any way to install that. And I thought this was an example of a distro where you can, if you agree with the lots of installed applications, pre-installed applications, it might be fine, but as soon as you want to try and install more things from a repo, as opposed to trying to get an RPM, it kind of gets a bit tricky. Because you're talking about a small group, mostly a guy, I think, from Texas or something, developing this thing, and you kind of depend on them to try and package it for all the versions they have, but they don't have staff or servers perhaps to do that. Lots of the downloads I noticed were coming from academic places, which basically provide a mirror for the distro. And that just had me think about, as you say, you have to try and find out what the distro is for, who it's made by, what the policies are, because once I've installed it, I kind of knew, well, if I have to install Chromium, I have to go to the website, which I'm pretty lazy. You know, us Linux users are quite lazy these days with installations. We don't like going to websites and download executables, and we're just used to put in some tick boxes and fill in some tick boxes, or maybe even do 10 at once and installing 10 applications at the same time, which is what I do when I install, say, Fedora today. I basically can install everything at once and just leave the computer for several hours to download and install the packages. But this is an example of a distro. It's kind of like you depend very much on what the developer has chosen. You cannot change it very easily once you've done that. But the user is very happy with it so far, except for the speed, because it's an old computer and it's using Firefox as the browser. So.
I mean, I think, like I said, I think my opinions on distros, it comes down to being part of the community. You know, if you're in agreement with the direction that your distro is taking and who it's appealing to, and that's in agreement with your own opinions, and you feel more part of the community, that's the user base. So that was my view. I mean, like I say, I have very simple needs in regards to packages. I've probably quite a few packages installed. But yes, you're right. Linux users are lazy. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. I mean that we've come to expect a decent install system with whatever package manager you're using, and it is very simple and very safe and secure to install packages. And while some people still believe it's you're part of the elite and you're only part of the elite if you compile, it doesn't work like that in the real world anymore. People don't have the time to look through web pages like I used to when I was a Windows user many years ago, to try and find a package, then check to make sure the website's legitimate and it's not some sort of Trojan or anything like that. And we just expect things to work and to be in front of us within a few minutes. So yes, that was just my few pence worth on that.
I should point out about Fedora, since I mentioned that I cannot comment about Fedora 14, the normal version or the default version, but the KDE spin is. So far, I've installed it on 2 computers, and the first one was a desktop, and everything worked completely perfectly out of the box. The second one, I had I had an issue detecting it's a laptop, so the microphone wasn't detected so well. But that's no big deal because I have an old microphone I can give to the person, and he'll use I'll just give it away to basically make